Weed out courses. Are they necessary? What exactly is a weed out course? This is our WISE presentation, presented by Jackie Taylor, Meghna Rajendran, Monica Thibault, and Shivani Sharma. According to dictionary.com, a weed out course is an extremely difficult course, especially in a university, that weeds out students not capable of undertaking more courses in the subject. Also, what kind of lives are students really living when they go through these weeder courses? Especially us Berkeley students. I mean, we have a lot of coursework. What exactly are we doing in our spare time? So, what's the big controversy? Weeder classes create a culture of disinterest and competition because people become disinterested in the material and more focused on their grade. Do they even prepare students for their future careers? However, if students are willing to change majors over certain classes, are they really passionate about their major in the first place? Should the purpose of fundamental classes be to separate students with no future in the field, or to teach basics that all students should know? Some people believe that weeder courses affect women and minorities more and therefore hinder diversity and keep the same culture of exclusion. This presents a problem for groups that attempt to combat the disparity in STEM fields. According to an article published on sciencemag.org, a new survey found that 84% of the science chairs say broadening participation in STEM fields is important to their institution. A plurality, 46%, believe that weed-out courses are generally harmful to diversity. Still, 57% of the chairs see no need to significantly change their introductory courses to retain more STEM students, including women and minorities. That brings up an important question. Why do weeder courses disproportionately affect women and minorities? Imagine you're back in elementary school. There's a little boy and a little girl who fail their math test. What is the boy told, and what is the girl told? The boy is told that if he could just sit down and be quiet, he could do much better on the next test and could have a successful future in the subject. However, the girl, perhaps not directly, is told that she's just not cut out for the material. This stereotype is perpetuated in the media and in popular culture. Has anyone seen The Big Bang Theory? The women in the show who are in the hardcore sciences are not perceived as normal in social situations. This perpetuates the stereotype that women in science are not normal women. From a very young age, white men are told that they are naturally predisposed to learning math and science. I'm sure all of you have heard of the left and right brain arguments. Minorities, and especially women, are told that their brains are naturally predisposed towards the arts and humanities. That means that if in universities a man performs poorly on a math or science test, he believes that it is a reflection on his comprehension of the material in the test and not his aptitude in the entire subject. This is generally not the case for women or minorities, who are from a young age told that they have a natural inclination towards the arts. We aren't the only ones who feel this way. This point of view is also shared by Sheryl Sandberg, the COO of Facebook, who wrote a book titled Lean In, which encourages women to get upper jobs in the workforce.
When I was in college, my senior year, I took a course called European Intellectual History. Don't you love that kind of thing from college? Wish I could do that now. And I took it with my roommate, Carrie, who was then a brilliant literary student and went on to be a brilliant literary scholar. And my brother, smart guy, but a water polo playing pre-med who was a sophomore. The three of us take this class together. And then Carrie reads all the books in the original Greek and Latin, goes to all the lectures. I read all the books in English and go to most of the lectures. My brother is kind of busy. He reads one book of 12 and goes to a couple of lectures, marches himself up to our room a couple days before the exam to get himself tutored. The three of us go to the exam together, and we sit down, and we study, sit there for 3 hours in our little blue notebooks. Yes, I'm that old. And we walk out, and we look at each other, and we say, how'd you do? And Carrie says, boy, I feel like I didn't really draw out the main point on the Hegelian dialectic. And I say, God, I really wish I had really connected John Locke's theory of property, the philosophers that follow. And my brother says, I got the top grade in the class. You got the top grade in the class? You don't know anything. The problem with these stories is that they show what the data shows. Women systematically underestimate their own abilities. If you test men and women and you ask them questions on totally objective criteria like GPAs, men get it wrong slightly high and women get it wrong slightly low.
But what about the class is really so hard? Is it the class itself or the culture it creates? A class that is designed to narrow down the number of people in a particular field lends itself to a faculty no longer interested in teaching students, especially here at Berkeley, where our professors advance themselves in their careers through their research and not their lecturing. And the students that are interested in the material could be weeded out by the competitive environment. Competition in weed-out classes contributes even more to the oppressive atmosphere. In Chem 1A here at Berkeley, they even needed to create a study group called Peace Tutoring, just to combat the competitiveness and encourage communication between Chem 1A students. This sort of environment can turn away even the most intelligent people and create stress in everyone. Less than half of students entering STEM fields finish in STEM fields. 20% of underrepresented minorities finish STEM degrees in 5 years. Only 33% of whites and 42% of Asian Americans complete their STEM degrees in 5 years. From these statistics and facts, what appears to be the worst part of weed-out classes includes the heavy workload, lack of community atmosphere for help, the difficulty of the subject, the lack of communication with the professor, and a very, very limited support system. It is difficult for students focused on learning to deal with the variables involved with weeder courses. So how many people really believe that inappropriate discouragement of women and minorities still occurs? 30% of women and 12% of men believe it happens frequently. 54% of women and 43% of men believe it happens occasionally. 10% of women and 27% of men believe it happens rarely, and 0% of women and 3% of men believe it happens never. So now what? How would we go about abolishing this weeder culture without, blowing up the school? Special thanks to Marissa Lavanino for her awesome markers and whiteboard.